Hey, this video is for all you plant and garden lovers. I'm Marie Poulin and I love helping people use technology to make their lives and businesses better. And Notion has been a tool that's helped me become more of a green thumb. So I'm obsessed with plants. You may know this about me if you've visited my website or you've ever talked to me. And as you can see, I've got my friends here. So I'm a huge plant lover and I'm a very recent gardener. I started to learn about permaculture 3-4 years ago. I started taking my permaculture diploma, had no idea what I was getting into. I'm a city girl who moved to a town of less than 2,000 people, and I had no idea how to maintain anything in the garden whatsoever. I didn't even recognize basic herbs and vegetables that were growing in my backyard. So I felt pretty intimidated and I really didn't know what I was doing. And I was worried that we weren't going to be able to take care of this beautiful garden that we'd inherited from, whoever owned this house before us. I wanted to catch up and learn as much as I could, and I knew it was going to take time. So I had a couple apps to help me. Picture This is one of them, and of course Notion, which is where I track most of my gardening activities, things like when to plant seeds indoor or outdoor, tracking my progress in the garden, just so I can see what is happening over time. Hopefully, over time, this will become inherent embodied wisdom. But until then, I rely on tools like Notion to kind of help me understand and learn, why does this leaf look like this? I can take pictures now with the Picture This app and I can start to identify and learn, things like this are going to become second nature at some point. But in the meantime, I have to take a lot of notes inside of Notion. So let me jump into my Notion workspace and I can show you some of the different ways that I've been using Notion to track this houseplant, gardening, you name it. So this is my garden dashboard, which is where I do all of my garden journaling. I track houseplant notes as well as vegetables, annuals, perennials, etc. I didn't even know what any of that was a couple years ago, so I'm still a fairly new gardener. For some of you more experienced gardeners, you may not need this level of tracking and detail, but for myself, I'm a pretty new gardener. I've really just been learning in the last couple years, and there's still so much I don't know and don't understand. So I use this as a place to kind of track that learning over time, because I remember what it was like to not even recognize anything in the garden. And now I find it really exciting to take a picture, and I use a couple apps to help me identify certain plants and vegetables and that sort of thing. And then I add it to my journal here. So as you can see, I've got this gardening journal where I can take notes about what happened, prepping the beds, cleaning up the flower beds, and it's pretty simple. I can use this on my phone, on the go. I can just take a picture, put the date in, add notes if I want to. I don't always add notes, but I'll just try and keep track of how things change over time. It's really fun too to take a look at how things looked in the spring, right? Planting the tomatoes and the peas, and I can see this progress and remember what I did and what I planted and what the notes were, and just kind of watch that progress over time, and then things getting sadly eaten by the deer and whatnot. So I've got a couple different views here. I can view this on a calendar view if I want. So I tend to keep it on gallery view. And then I've got this using Notion's new timeline feature. I'm actually using this to help me track when to plant seedlings indoor, when to plant them outside, and when to transfer them. So I've got start seeds indoor, plant seedlings outside, start outdoors, etc. So there's a couple different views for me to play with here. I can do it by date, I can do it by gallery. Got a couple different options here, but I like this timeline view specifically for when to start seeds indoor. So that's been helpful. I've got my list of perennials here as well. So if some of you are familiar with the garden template that I provided, I will provide an update to this because I actually now separate out my annuals and perennials, and that way I can keep a little bit better track as well. I also keep track of what location they're in. So in my permaculture studies, we have to map out the different zones of our property. And so most of the things are going to happen in zone 2, which is the patio garden, the area, kitchen garden, if you want to call that, just outside of the home. So home is zone 1, 0 is zone self, zone 2 is the patio garden. So I've got this list of perennials. I know where they are in the garden. I'm starting to learn their Latin names. So I did not put in these Latin names. This was actually a database that I found online and imported. So it's got everything in it. And most of these, I don't really know, don't know what they are. I don't know what their properties are. So this was an import. And then I managed to connect this up with my own houseplants, journal, the common name, etc. So the common name is the one that I'm using in the perennials. And that way I can start to, over time, I can do a bit of a roll up and I can start to remember what the Latin names are for the plants. So again, this is a pretty beastly database that pretty much includes probably every plant out there. Tons of different properties. Really helpful too. I can also do roll-ups even to pull in the flower color as well. So if I am doing some garden planning and I want to have certain things showing certain colors at different times of the year, that's something that I can do a little bit more easily now that that information is a lot more accessible. So I've got my annuals, my perennials. I started a new pests database as well. So I'm often adding to this as I pick up new information and I'm learning certain properties and qualities. This might be something where I could give a little description. I've got lots of books here too. I can take a quick snapshot and add it here. The books are always great, of course, as well, but it's just really handy when this is the one place that I'm coming to. I can load this up on my iPad or my phone and just have really quick access to that stuff while I'm walking around in the garden. Gardening activities by month. And again, these are included in the garden dashboard that's available at templates.mariepoulin.com. I will include an updated version of this definitely before the end of the year. That way, as you move into the spring and you're looking at planting your different things, that you've got all of these different databases that I've added to it. Most of these are taken from online, and I like to filter these by the current month or anything that was not complete from the past month. Some of these won't apply to me either, but garden and plant inspiration, designing with indoor plants, right? So it's kind of like my personal Pinterest. It's where I keep all of my ideas related to plants and gardening together. Got this golden pothos here, and I can include some notes here so I can see that's when I last repotted it there, September 20th, and I know that probably want to add some images to this as well because the leaves have started to go a little bit yellow on this, and this is an easy way for me to start tracking some of that information. So I could even do a timestamp here and say, now, yellowing leaves need to fertilize and repot probably. So I can just add a little bit of notes in there. So anytime I get a new houseplant, I add it to this database here, and I can track things like how to propagate it, the Latin name. Not all of these are connected up, but I can do that. I can click into here, find the plant in the plant list. If not, I can add it there. And again, I can add entries to my journal so I know when I last updated it, propagated it, added fertilizer, etc. And then I've got this master houseplant care sheet, and this is from an online course that I took. I think it's the houseplant class. I'll have to double check, but this one was a massive database that was originally in Airtable. Of course, I had to import it into Notion. And so I didn't actually add all of these. These were already there, and I just turned them into the right properties here. So this is so helpful for, again, just tracking, what kind of fertilizer. Not every plant needs the same fertilizer. It has the same watering frequency and stuff. So I'm learning all of this stuff. It's pretty new to me. Placement, routine maintenance, any notes about that plant itself can be found right in there. And I tend to tuck that away because there's a lot more data here, right? So if I really want to dive deep into the specifics of that plant, I can go in here, but I tend to just tuck that away right there. Planting garden wisdom. So these are things I'm collecting that's sort of like my notes and ideas, but for the garden specifically. And that way I'm kind of separating it out from my business notes and ideas, and I'm just keeping plant stuff specifically here. And a recent addition is inventory. So I can keep track of what fertilizer do I already have? What kind of soil do I already have? Am I low on something? Am I missing something? What's the purpose here? And if I wanted to, I could even create a connection between this and specific plants and houseplants and that sort of thing. And that way I know if certain plants prefer certain fertilizers because of their properties and needs, I can connect those up together. So it might seem like a lot. What matters is that this stuff is in here. It can grow with me. The more sort of wisdom I accumulate and the more notes I'm making about my space, I can just add them in here and I can really just see how much I'm learning over time. So there you have it. That's how I have been using Notion to help myself become more of a green thumb. I still have a ton to learn and I'm really excited about it, especially now that I have this place where everything lives. It's pretty organized. It can grow with me as I grow, and I can really see how far I've come as a gardener. If you are interested in the template, I do have a gardening dashboard. You can visit templates.mariepoulin.com to see the gardening dashboard. It's not yet updated with my timeline view, so I will update that. So anyone who's purchased that gardening template, if you've already purchased it, many thanks. I will definitely send you an update with a couple timeline views in there and a couple more updated databases. There are a few in there that I've taken from online, so I don't want to redistribute them without permission, but I'll definitely make some pretty major updates to that gardening dashboard before the end of the year. And so definitely check that out. Use it as a starting point, or just use it to start from scratch and add your own houseplants as you go. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.